selective about what they want in their recyclables. We don't have as much glass, we don't have as much of the hard plastic. That's more valuable, a lot more film plastic. And that's really making it much more expensive for the sorters to do their job, which is where a lot of the margin is.
We're on.
Hello.
Okay. Good evening, and welcome to the Waste Management Committee of December 14, 2015. First off, we could recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could ask you to join me in a moment of silence. Good, thank you. Okay, well, we have a quorum, that's a good thing. And obviously there's no public comment. And I need an approval on the minutes of November 17, 2015. We haven't taken a minute. We can take a minute and look at them if everything's in order.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from November 17.
I'll second.
Okay.
Just a quick question, if I may. On page 2, under Mr. McKelvey's recommendations, number 5, it looks like, Glenn, are you saying Glenn Santos commented that the enterprise system can put money back into the general fund, or can't? It can. In what, I guess I'm curious, in what sense?
For services rendered.
I see what you're saying. For the administrative fee
Yeah,
that they...
for services rendered.
All right,
Because
wasn't sure.
that's by law,
Gotcha.
so.
Yep.
So Andrew seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Rick, you would
Yeah, I was not,
abstain, you
I
were
abstained,
not
was
here.
present.
Okay. Okay, the draft proposal for the Waste Management Committee, recommendations, suggestions that we'll bring forward to the selectmen. I know, Rich, you weren't here, so I know you probably would like to have a moment to bring forward your thoughts.
Good, thank you, appreciate it. I've had a chance to obviously review the minutes from the previous previous meeting and looked over the recommendations, and I certainly would support the recommendations that with respect to enhancing education. I think that's going to be key. It's a challenge, and developing the right message is difficult, but I think you can never go wrong with enhancing the education that you provide with respect to recycling. That's certainly an option. I think the sentiment, and I would tend to agree, that at this point it doesn't seem to make sense to proceed with cameras. There doesn't seem to be enough return on investment, as it were. In particular, I guess I would offer my agreement with much of Calliope's comments with respect in particular to pay-as-you-throw, unit-based pricing. It's certainly no secret that it's my view that that is the recommendation, the preeminent recommendation that this committee should be making. As I've said probably on a couple of occasions, we were created and then charged to make recommendations with regard to how to reduce our trash that were the most equitable and the most effective that we could come up with. And what limited amount of information came to us from the town of Sandwich and from others showed that without question, a pay-as-you-throw approach was clearly the most effective in terms of reducing trash and in providing equity to folks in the community. So I would agree with her, and I think if I read the minutes correctly, she was commenting that the Board of Health, which is certainly charged with making recommendations and indeed creating regulations with respect to waste disposal, they're, I think, in support of a unit-based model as well. So the folks who know the most about this issue have continually said that pay-as-you-throw is the way to go. We've seen it in community after community, average reductions of 44%, residents who, once they get used to the system, and again, this is largely, I think the people who are opposed to pay-as-you-throw are opposed because they're concerned, because they think it's going to cost them more money, and they don't understand it, and they're frightened of change, and I certainly understand those issues, but when you have spent as much time as I have and researched this issue as much as I have, you end up finding out that when people were opposed to pay-as-you-throw previously, once the systems were installed in the communities, they ended up appreciating how the systems worked, how it provided a better sense of motivation to recycle, as well as saving monies. I have had communications with Waste Zero, which handles the sale of bags for most of all of the Cape communities, and they essentially put together a summary of what the savings would be. And as Catherine's pointed out, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings, and more than that, over the term of a likely contract. So it's unfortunate, I think, from the beginning, this committee, while we've had good discussions, I think from the beginning, this committee was motivated by its membership to do whatever it could do to make some recommendations, but none of those recommendations were going to be pay-as-you-throw. And I understand it. I mean, there are some members here who think the politics of it are that this is not an issue that we should be recommending. But I just think in light of what our charge was and the fact that we're not supposed to be political animals here in this committee, we should have really made that recommendation about where the biggest bang for the buck would be, where the greatest savings would be, where the most equity would be. And I just, I don't think we will have done that at the end of the day. So I guess I'll leave it out there. You all know how I feel, and we've had some good discussions here, but I do think we're missing a huge opportunity for our ratepayers with respect to savings, to say nothing of the environmental positive impacts of reducing our trash. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I have Wayne Bedlacker on the phone.
Wrong number.
Bring him in. She's only late. He can participate remotely. Wayne?
Yep, I'm here.
You're in, kid. Sorry about that. Should have touched bases. I'm gonna leave you on, okay?
Alrighty.
The meeting's in process. We've just, Rick Elrick had just come up and explained his position, and hang in there. We'll work our way and we'll get to you, all right?
Alright.
All right. Thanks, Wayne. Anyone else? Do you want to go around and come this way and just final closing thoughts on this?
Just a quick
Anything?
question, if I may, with respect to process. I did not, with respect to my comments just now, make any formal motions. Will you be looking for formal motions? Because I will go through the exercise of making a motion when it's appropriate. And if I get a second, fine, we'll have some discussion. If not, so be it.
Yeah, you can do that, and actually, if we have a vote and I bring it forward to the, whatever we do tonight will be the recommendations that we bring forward to the selectmen. And, you know, and I think as a board, we can vote on those to move it forward, and go from there. That work for everybody? I thought that was the fairest way to move forward, and it's up to the selectmen's board to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn?
I don't have anything to add to what I did at the last meeting.
Okay,
In my one recommendation, the low-income sticker, and
yep,
I think that's something, because, you know, down the road, prices are gonna be going up. I mean, it's inevitable. But, I mean, there's something that should make it easier for the people that are in, you know, that need it, so.
great, thanks, Glenn. Greg? you're on.
Yeah, probably all except number 1. I stand by my recommendations, and that's what I'd ask to bring forward tonight. The swap thing.
swap exchange.
Didn't get a good,
It didn't, no.
didn't get a,
But yeah,
someone's, a nightmare, they said it was, so we won't do it.
Right.
It's a huge
one
name.
man's junk is,
One
turns
man's
out to
junk
be
is still another man's junk.
Yeah. So, and I think I'll delay, and Tom, I don't know if you have something you've done. I know you participated in the last meeting.
Yeah, nothing in addition to that. I guess my only question is, going forward, how is this gonna be, who's gonna be charged with presenting the items to the Board of Selectmen, and in what fashion?
What I will do is as the chair, I'll take the information to the board. I'll take, Jean will provide me with the notes, and I'll formulate those, or hopefully Jean will, so that I can present them, in an orderly fashion, breaking them down to what we recommend. I think that's fair and simple.
So we as a committee will have an opportunity to review those before you present them?
No, this is it. I think this will be it. Once we make these decisions, I don't think there's any need.
I'm just saying for accuracy, not to do a wholesale change, but before they're presented,
If you want to do that online, if we can
Yeah.
review it online, that'd be
yeah,
fine.
if we just
Yeah.
include, if you give us
Okay.
copies of what
Are
you
you allowed to?
provide.
Well, they,
Under the public.
I think
meeting.
it becomes a potential issue for public meeting law. Only because if we're going back and forth and deliberating, then
No deliberation. I mean, I don't think we should deliberate, but if each of us were to review our own comments, and if that's the way it was meant, does that make sense? I don't want to get into deliberation, and nor do I want to get into another meeting. I just don't think it's necessary.
personally, I'd rather just see us come to a consensus or a conclusion as to what we're gonna recommend tonight.
I
And
agree.
then those minutes be reflected.
I thought when we left last meeting that whatever recommendations, each person was supposed to forward that to you,
Jean and myself, right.
into Jean, and that was gonna be, the list, because we did discuss and agree to what was gonna be, what wasn't.
Yes.
I thought, to a
Right,
point last
but
week.
we would vote on them, whether they're
Right, but I
written
mean,
or in
because
oral
we had to
form.
have something
This is it.
together, and then we were gonna vote on it. So
Correct.
That's how we left it.
This was tonight's
Okay,
purpose.
I'm good with that. I wasn't certain of the process, but I understand that there are issues that could come up and you do violate.
Is there
open
anything you
meeting.
want to clarify?
No.
Rod, I don't know if you have any input
I don't
or,
have anything else other than, obviously, we've heard the written format and the oral recommendations, and they've been discussed at length. There's been a lot of constructive dialogue throughout this process, and I understand as a result of my appointment, I was a Johnny-come-lately onto the committee. I do have some concerns about the overall cost of the operations long-term. I don't know that we're going to get into any quick fix or even any long-term fix to those issues tonight, but it's the elephant in the room, as they say, and I think that is going to have to be addressed, whether it be in baby steps or in other approaches. I will say this, I think everybody that has sat here has brought something to the table as far as their perspective and the suggestions, and as the Chief Administrative Officer of the town, I like listening to this type of dialogue and hearing what folks have to say from various viewpoints. I think it's been interesting. I think as far as the recommendations are concerned, I think they're constructive and they're in good faith. And I certainly hope that moving forward, we can do a little bit better than what we have in the past. I can tell you that the chairman of the board of selectmen and I recently visited the transfer station, and in the process, we viewed a commercial van that did have a residential sticker get in, and it was a business that wasn't even located in Mashpee. So I don't know how often that's occurring, but it does raise a red flag for the purposes of
questioning what volume that involves. And then, of course, we did try to address the bag issue by limiting that to 5. I don't know if that's a baby step or what it is, but at least it's something. And I think overall, something is better than nothing.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
The recommendation for the 5-bag limit per trip, that's already something we've decided? That's something we have to revisit tonight?
No, we'll bring that forward. We're
Gotcha.
gonna bring that forward, right.
If I could just say something, I don't know, I'm not exactly clear how Mashpee does it, but I know a lot of other towns, including the town that I used to work for, whatever, if you drive a commercial vehicle, say you work for ABC Construction or whoever it is, right? And you're the sole driver of that one company vehicle, and you reside in the town, if you get a letter from the owner saying that you're the sole driver of that vehicle, and you have permission to use it for personal business, you can get a sticker, and the sticker goes on that vehicle. You know, that's, I don't know if you're aware of that or whatever, but that's something that's always, as far as I know, it's always been done, and I've never really seen any kind of violation to it or whatever, so.
The vehicle has to be registered to the Mashpee resident or property owner. So in that case,
But it,
you know, that's their vehicle, that's registered for their use, whether it's personal or business related, but it is registered to their property.
If it is, if it's not, it's not allowed,
Correct.
even with a letter, so that's our rules. Our rules are not to allow.
And my presumption is because it was an out-of-town business, that it wouldn't have
Okay,
been linked
that's,
to the owner.
okay, because
Again, that was a assumption.
a lot of people get a company vehicle, car, whatever, and they can't use that vehicle to bring their trash to the dump. I mean, that's, you know what I mean?
You're right, if you're a salesperson and you have a company vehicle,
There's 3 or 4 people in my neighborhood that have been doing it for the last 15, 20 years. And they've had Mashpee stickers.
That's not in our policy.
And I'm not arguing the merits to it.
Right,
I'm just
right.
saying it appears to be,
Oh, no, I agree with you, because if,
bridge.
you know, for somebody, you know, who looks at it and just says, okay, that vehicle shouldn't be here.
and in fairness to the attendant, he saw a sticker, so he's allowing it in.
it's amazing, even at this late stage of the game, with all the hours we put in this committee, that there are still things that we're learning as time goes on. And, you know, I have a truck. Granted, my business is in the town of Mashpee. I use my truck rather than my vehicle. I wouldn't have too many bags in my vehicle in my car. But I'm very careful not to bring in my commercial waste. I always have a dumpster, or I go to Bourne, or now ABC's open in Sandwich again. But I've been very careful about that, and it's funny, I'll bring it up now because I was gonna wait till the end. But I learned, as to Catherine's dispersal of the information last month, about the cost of recycling. And one of those is the cardboard, which I've been always good about. Rather than throwing it in a dumpster, I thought I was doing the town a favor by bringing it to the transfer station and putting in all those boxes. I mean, I do housefuls of windows and cabinetry, and I'm talking 100, 200 pounds of cardboard that come out of these projects. They're big, heavy boxes, refrigeration, all of these. And as it turns out, it's costing the town $30 a ton to get rid of it. I'm doing the town a favor to not at all to the town. And I feel badly that I've done that, because the dumpsters were there. It would have been no problem to throw it in the dumpster, but I thought I was doing a good thing for the town. But the numbers that Catherine told me, $30 a ton to get rid of it, I feel badly, and I think there are a lot of contractors that probably wouldn't bring their cardboard in. And that's the only thing I bring. I mean, other than my resident, even metal. I will bring metal. I thought there was, but you're not making money on metal. So I was very surprised by all of that. So all this time I thought I was doing a good thing, and I wasn't doing a good thing. I was doing a bad thing. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think that people are trying to benefit the town because of recycling, especially cardboard. I always said cardboard had real value, but apparently I was wrong. I guess it's the trucking.
It's, the market right now is low for all commodities. We still are making money on the scrap metal. And I think for, a permit holder with household trash, what we're trying to do is divert the cardboard and the single stream from the trash because it is less costly than disposal. But to, I guess, encourage, someone to bring in recyclables, or cardboard, it is costing the town money.
Right, and down the board. I mean, whether it be scrap metal, it's almost $32 a ton, per ton. You know?
Scrap metal, we're making about 35.
Well, it says cost per ton. It says it costs $31.70 a ton to get rid of scrap metal. Total cost per ton, $31.71. These are your figures, right? Last FY16 to date.
Is that a cost, or is that,
Total cost per ton.
I know, but it's in brackets, so does that mean that
That
it's
means
coming
a negative,
in?
so that means it's a profit.
Oh, it's a
Coming
profit on the metal?
If it's in parentheses. I have a colored version, sorry. Yeah. But, like I said, for the household using the transfer station, what we're trying to encourage is that they don't put that in the trash because it's more costly as trash, but there is still a cost associated with the
Right,
recycling.
the trucking, right. But, well, I learn something new every day. Catherine, is there anything you wanted to add to the,
I don't think I have anything new. I echo Richard's statement at the beginning of the meeting, but I understand that there may not be the appetite at this point to move forward with pay-as-you-throw. I think one of the recommendations that we will be voting on is the enterprise funds, and I would support that.
okay, all right. Wayne? Would you like to add anything?
I'm under the understanding that we don't make any money on metal, is that correct?
No, she just said, Catherine said actually, it's in parentheses as a cost, but meaning we generate money from that, almost $32 per ton on the metal.
And the cardboard should be in parentheses too, correct?
No, it's in a negative.
I thought we made money on cardboard.
I did too, that's not the case. It's $29.29 per ton cost to get rid of.
Understand, it is what it is. I'm ready to vote on whatever people want to vote on.
I think a lot of the recommendations, I don't know that we have any per list. We made the 5-bag vote last meeting. And I think other than that, there's not a whole lot other than, I don't know if we make a recommendation as an enterprise fund, if anybody has an appetite for that tonight. And I can tell you, I mean, all of you here, I get the pay-as-you-throw. I mean, I really do. Do I think the town could save money? I do think the town will save money. Do I think there are people that will be hurt by that? I do. I think that that the appetite, as Rick says, there is no appetite for it. And I don't think the majority of the people would move for it. So, and anything that we do here will be brought forward as a pay that would have to go to the, for a vote at a ballot vote, a binding ballot vote. So I don't think it would move forward. I think the suggestions that we're making are things that will pass to help the town save money that are reasonable. And I think everybody would agree in the town that the things that we're suggesting are small steps into saving money, restricting the use of the transfer station, and and make it a residential-only transfer station, which was the intent all along. No business rubbish, debris, and I think that alone we could save money. I think the town does a good job running the transfer station. I think it'd be run a little bit more effectively. with a little bit of tweaks and changes here. I don't think I think we're doing a good job. I think that a lot of the local towns that have gone to pay-as-you-throw, see us, the projections, I think it was in 2009 or 2010, Catherine, I think they were projecting at this time that we would be at $200 a ton. I remember the handouts by the Cape Cod Commission, I think I have copies of them in my home. And we're not anywhere near that still. So, you know, it isn't what the projections and the predictions were. We're doing a good job. I think we are, and I think we can do even better for the community. So,
So can we make motions for recommendations now?
yeah, just a minute. Greg has something he'd like to add.
Make a motion.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Let's see where we want to go with this.
May I make perhaps a suggestion? In the minutes, there are listed recommendations.
Right.
Would it be appropriate to just run through them and do a quick up or down vote on each of those as they're presented here? And then
I
if
think
there
that'll
are-
make it-
And then if there are additional motions.
I think that makes sense. Yes, I do. Okay, I'm gonna start with the first one. Andrew's first recommendation, he's gonna withdraw that, which was to, establish a swap exchange.
Correct.
That didn't fly across the board. The second recommendation by Andrew was to recommend the, selectmen, give anyone over the age of 75 a discount. Well, let's go look into a discount, establishing a discount system for elderly, or not elderly.
You better watch that.
I'm in that group. So, on a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Low income,
Is it low income on as need basis?
low income,
Low income basis, or?
just low income sticker.
Well, I think that's,
That was my recommendation on page 1, so.
Well, you got two different issues. You've got low income, and you've got 75
an older.
and over.
Yeah.
I think for this to work, it needs to be a low income. I mean, it needs, because then it's straight across the board. You set what the rate's gonna be, and that's it. Okay, because you can have 75 and 80-year-olds that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I understand.
So why give them a break?
Right.
I'm not trying to not singling out anybody, but
So what we're proposing
Based on
for a low
income
in-
based.
For a discounted sticker is just low income,
Low
and
income
that
based.
includes
Right.
everybody.
any age,
Low income.
any age or anyone, it's a low income.
And that is the question, not.
And what's the discount?
Right, what's the discount and what's the,
That needs to be established by the selectmen.
I think under
or-
recommendation 2, for Andrew, it was 10% discount at the age of 75, and it would be linked to low income, but low income was not defined.
no, it wasn't.
Well,
And we're getting rid of the 75, so we're just basing it on income need.
isn't there a standard for low income?
Yeah,
What they,
there's-
how they base it on, like for school?
Because they use basically what it is like what they call like a poverty level. You can use, you use
Go with the
150,
poverty level.
the 150%, it all depends, and that needs to be approved by the selectmen, recommend, done by the selectmen, or finance.
So
You know,
let-
okay, where they can sit there and they can look at it, and like I said at the last meeting, then also, the person also needs to make sure that there's a person appointed who's gonna oversee and approve or deny, okay? I mean, this, once the recommendation in there and it's approved, then there's protocols they need to follow.
Right.
But, with us, we don't have the authority,
Right.
we don't have the knowledge
figure
right
that
now to
out.
say, okay, you can't make more than this,
Right.
if you got one person in the family or 5 people in the family.
It's,
Okay,
there's a standard.
Right.
And that's probably, and that's up to the Board of
So
Selectmen
that, I think that's
to
the answer.
implement whatever standard they choose to follow.
So the answer to that is we recommend to the Board of Selectmen, to establish a low income, an income-based, transfer station sticker, and the
That may be sufficient.
cost to be set by the, Board of Selectmen.
A low income, not an
Low income.
income-based.
Right, low
Low
income.
income.
A second. If you're making that as a motion.
I'm fine with that, we can do that. Okay?
But we're just getting the,
All
what
in-
we're gonna recommend in,
No, we're gonna vote
One at a
these.
time, I think.
Yeah,
one, each
yeah,
and
we're
every,
gonna vote this in, and we'll move
Discuss it.
forward.
So for the purposes of discussion and clarification, is it linked to age or just
No.
income?
Income.
Just income,
Just income,
okay.
That's fine.
okay?
So Glenn made
Yes.
that motion,
Oh.
and do we have
No,
a second?
I made the motion, Rick
Rick
second,
seconded it.
Oh,
so. All in favor?
Can we have a discussion? I just want to clarify for everyone that this means that the sticker price for the rest of the population
Would have to go up.
will have to go up.
Correct.
To help subsidize the low income.
All we're doing is recommending, we're bringing
Oh,
it forward.
that's-
It's up to the selectmen to make the decision. It's been brought up by the board, everybody's in
Yeah.
agreement, but it's up to the
I can't see
selectmen to make
reasoning-
that
I
call.
can't see the reasoning for that, but,
Hmm?
I can't see the reasoning for that. But, yeah, let's go for it. I voted yes.
Yeah, but it's up to the selectmen to make that decision. It was brought forward, and we move forward with that, okay? And number three, do we recommend?
We didn't finish voting, I don't think.
And just for clarification, again,
You gonna vote on that?
in terms of discussion, is this a 10% reduction, or are we not?
No,
it's
no,
got-
no,
It's got
it's-
nothing to do with number two. It's got nothing to do with number two.
Nothing to do with the 75 and the 10%. This is a low-income based, recommendation to the selectmen to give a low-income sticker, to those in need. And whatever the reduction is stated by them. They would set the
So
cost
they would
reduction.
set the amount of the reduction?
Correct. Not this board.
And I think probably the way that would proceed would be there'd be a study, and you'd look at what other towns are doing. Barnstable, as Glenn has pointed out, has a low-income program. I think
Oh,
a
there
lot,
is?
yeah, a lot of the towns
Okay.
have a low-income program, and Catherine's right. I mean, obviously, if you're giving a reduction in cost to
Some
one
metrics, right.
subgroup, you're going to have to increase a little bit. It won't be too much, but it will have to have an impact on others' stickers as well, I would think. But
Do we have,
so we have a motion.
Okay,
we had a motion, we had a second.
Yep.
Any I'm sorry.
No, I think we've had enough discussion. Why don't we do an individual vote? We'll start with, can we start with Rick?
Aye.
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 Aye, unanimous, okay. All right, number three, again, by Andrew. Recommend that any resident who wants to recycle should be given recycling stickers so they don't have to pay just to recycle.
If that's a sticker for people who just recycle for identification purposes only, so we can identify those folks at this point. And of course, if an enterprise fund at some point comes in, of course, that would change, but.
Well, and I'll go back to what my original discussion was earlier with Catherine, and that's on the single stream. It costs almost, it's $27.90 for single stream, to dispose of single stream. I think that we're at, on solid waste, I think we're at $70, $71, $72 a ton right now. So that's almost half, not quite half, but 40% of the cost.
Mr. Chairman, if you could back up here a minute. If you were making the first recommendation, I'll second it. Okay, now we're on to discussion. Okay? 'Cause I think that's how we need to do this. If somebody's making the motion, then we can discuss, correct?
Yes.
Because we are discussing an item to be voted on, so,
Okay.
just, that, I'm not
Okay.
trying to make it,
Yep.
I'm just trying to make it clear in my mind and
Bring an item
procedural.
up, yeah, you're right. Thanks, Glenn. So, I mean, should it be free if it's,
I totally agree, because it's, you're gonna be penalized, we're gonna be penalizing people, even if it's a $10 sticker, you know, people are gonna look at it and go, well, if it's gonna cost me $10 and the inconvenience is gonna go down there and get it, or what, or go online and buy it, or whatever. You know, people that are right now marginally using recycle are gonna say, oh, the heck with it. You know, the people that are really devoted to it are gonna do it anyways, but I just think it's the smart thing to do, because it's gonna help encourage more. And I definitely agree that making it easier for the transfer station attendants, or anybody, even Catherine, who's, if you're going over there and just spot checking, or anybody from your crew's going over spot checking or whatever, or any of us drive in there and go, well, that person doesn't have a sticker, what are they doing in here? They shouldn't be in here, they should have a sticker. You know what I mean? It's gonna make it, because you're gonna know they are a resident, and it's just gonna make it a lot easier. I just, you know, I totally agree with it, so.
Do you think, Glenn, a minimal, like a $10 fee is gonna choke people to do that?
Well, I think the argument was that at this point, because part of everyone's taxes are paying for the operation of the transfer station, that by allowing them to recycle at no cost, they're getting something for their money. Which I think was the discussion we had at the last meeting.
Right.
If we do recommend, or it goes at some point to an enterprise fund where the users are paying 100% of the cost, then
And
at that point, there would be a fee.
And I definitely agree with the last sentence that, but to readdress when the if it does go enterprise account,
Right.
then this discussion definitely needs to be
Absolutely.
reopened and say, okay, we need to have a fee on this, so.
I just know that there's an operational cost, not to get real trivial, but there's an operational cost to the sticker itself, and then there's the operational cost to staff the sticker office for the purposes of taking care of the lines.
Right.
How many people, I mean, do we have a rough idea of how many people?
That actually is not part of the transfer station budget. That's a separate sticker office, because they sell transfer station beach stickers, you know, boat ramp, shellfish licenses, you know, all of those permits go through the sticker
And
office.
I know it went up in anticipation of this, because I just reviewed the town clerk's budget.
Right. And I'm in agreement. I mean, for one of the big issues that was always brought up is that everybody felt they were subsidizing the cost of the stick, but in fact, it costs money to recycle, and use any of the service at the transfer station, whether it be the grass clippings, the brush, all of those things, just to have a gate attendant there, it costs money, which is part of the general funding. So it's not a subsidy issue anymore. It's everybody's been using it. Those who use it get their money.
On the flip side, I don't want to be a naysayer, because you want to encourage people to recycle.
Right.
And if the collective thought was, is this going to discourage people from recycling, and instead they're going to dump out in the middle of the woods, well then, I guess that's the cost of doing business. And we just absorb it.
But like you said, but I mean, it's $10. I mean, I always thought it was be $20, $25, somewhere in that neighborhood, just for the use of the recycling.
Again, you know, it's, I understand that, you know, what we're tasked with as a committee, but setting prices we're not.
Right.
I mean, if it goes in front of the selectmen and they deem budgetarily wise, due to budget increases, whatever that is, in all fairness, and it should be a $5 sticker like it is for the ramps, like the ramp fees, because they made that ramp fee sticker and within a couple of weeks of the fishing season or whatever, but I mean, you know, if that's their decision. I mean, if we recommend a free sticker and they decide to make it a fee, then, but I think our biggest thing is making the recommendation of having a recycling sticker.
I think it makes it easier to recognize it, who's ever, for the gate, someone at the gate. I know that he probably recognizes he probably stops everybody that comes in and doesn't have a sticker, and he probably recognizes them by that, but I think it would make his job easier if there was a sticker on every vehicle. Yes.
Make a motion?
Yes.
I move that the committee recommend that a sticker be required for all residents utilizing the transfer station. For those who are recycling only, the sticker.
Wait, we've already got a motion in a second, and we got a discussion, so we're either
Oh,
gonna vote on
I
this?
didn't know we had formalized the motion on that Okay, I'm sorry.
On-
What is
on
the
three.
motion? What is the motion formally? On 3.
Residents should be given recycled sticker at no charge.
I'm sorry. That's fine. I apologize.
That's, no, I'm not trying to.
No, it's
you know,
fine. No,
step-
I
I'm not trying to step on you,
didn't
but
know it had been.
procedurally, we need to follow what we're doing.
Absolutely.
That the recycling sticker shall be required, but the cost of said sticker to be determined by the Board of Selectmen.
I think that makes better sense, because I think that's what we're all in agreement, in discussion, that if there is a fee, that it would be, such a fee would be established by the selectmen.
I like it worded like
And
that,
I'll second that amendment.
that if there is a fee.
Yes.
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 And remember, the town pays for that sticker too.
Right, that's what we're trying to eliminate, the town paying for the sticker. Right,
Somebody gotta pay for it.
exactly. So we're not here to increase the cost of the transfer station to the town, we're trying to
Everybody.
reduce it, right, so. All right,
Still an
so,
operating cost.
So how's the motion reading now?
Right.
Yeah, by any
All
means.
right, so now, so Catherine, you're making the amended motion, are you?
Am I allowed to?
You're a member, aren't you?
But does the original
Oh, I
motion,
see.
person who made the original
Oh.
motion need to?
Okay.
Well, usually they do amend it.
That's fine.
So,
Okay.
I didn't
so
make
then Greg,
it
you're
was,
amending.
I that made the motion,
Can I second?
Amend with Catherine's help.
okay.
And who was it that seconded the motion? Thank you, Greg.
Okay. I thought it'd be easier this way. It's not that easy. All right. So,
The vote. The vote.
do you want to take a vote to finalize? Yes.
And would you just reread it one more
Oh,
time?
no.
All right.
Well, Rick, I'll give you the gist of it. The
That's
reason I
okay.
say no way, because Catherine jumped in and I'm gonna have to play my tape and piece it
Oh,
together.
put it all back together. Okay.
But in effect, I'll give you the gist of what it was, that the recycle sticker is to be required, and the cost is to be determined by the the fee, if any, is to be determined by the Board of Selectmen.
That was my understanding.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty clean. I
Yep.
think that's pretty clean. Yeah. All those in favor, or by vote, by individual?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay, unanimous. All right, number 4, still on Andrew. And it goes to the recommendation of a 5-bag limit.
Of keeping that limit and the sticker, and actually, that's all the changes I would recommend.
Do you have a recommendation on a weight to that bag, or the size of the bag, I should say?
It was a 30-gallon
It was
bag.
a- no, Your
33.
vote was a 40-gallon.
40
bag.
40 gallon?
Yeah, that was already voted.
That was already done.
Yeah, we did
Yeah,
vote on
but-
that. So we're all
But
in,
if we voted previously,
we don't,
I'm trying to clarify that this
Right.
is
What I'm
coming
trying,
into the form of a motion.
right, what I'm trying to say is that, other than the 2 changes we just made, this recycling sticker and the bags, I see no need for additional changes at this time to be revisited in 5 years.
I would second that. If that's a motion,
Okay,
That's-
with the 30 pound. Or,
I have no,
40-gallon bag.
I'm sorry.
whatever bag
40
we
gallon.
decided.
It was
40
40-gallon
gallon.
bag, right.
Yes.
But that's really not part of my motion. My part is just keeping what we've already decided, wherever that is,
Right.
which is the sticker in the bags, whatever that bag size is, but not switching it out and changing anything else at this time. And the reason I say that is, it's been mentioned here several times that, this is, people don't have the appetite to change or don't want to change, and I got to tell you, the people don't want to change. The people have voted, they've spoken more than once, I believe, in this town regarding pay-as-you-throw, and they're not ready for that, for whatever reason it might be. I know, excuse me?
make it a motion.
Well, let me just finish one second. I think it's important that, you know, and I hear people say, well, it's going to save the town money, and I think people know that in the long term, it might save the organization the town money.
Town, right.
But it might hurt individual families.
Correct.
And I think that's what people are concerned about and why they're not ready to jump on board. I think, you know, although there's, you know, we talked a lot about recycling, I think we're doing some things to handle recycling. I think there needs to be a recycling plan by the recycling committee.
I would agree.
And so it's not just our job. Our job is to try to, you know, curtail what's, you know, or look at what's going to happen. But, you know, I stand by my motion that, that I think this transfer station is fine where it's at, except for those two changes, and would like to leave those changes. And
So no
Not have a-
40-gallon bag limit.
No, yeah, that was already passed.
Well,
that's already
We
passed.
voted that,
He's
right.
saying no
And
other,
he's
no
just
other
saying-
change.
No other changes.
No other
In
changes.
other words,
Other change.
in other words, not adopting pay-as-you-throw.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
the only problem I have with that is that in 2 years, budgetarily wise, or whatever, the selectmen and through finance and through town meeting and everything else like that, is voted the transfer station is gonna become an enterprise account. Are we gonna be binded by this 5-year regulation?
I would say that if they
If you're
decide to
saying
go.
no changes at
No,
all,
I'm
then
saying
that means they need no
if they-
changes.
If they start to go to an enterprise fund, I think that's a whole different, we can put that in there if there's a.
Well, see, that's the only thing,
So-
is if you're gonna make a 5-year, you know what I'm saying?
Right, I
If you're
do,
gonna
I
make a
do.
5-year
That-
ban,
yeah.
then that means no changes, no improvements, nothing can happen out there. It's,
These are
but
only
how do we, like, you know, Catherine just came up with the food waste, I mean, is that a change that's allowed within the 5-year ban? You know what I mean? It's
Glenn,
kind of holding our hand.
Glenn, these recommendations will go to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen will either adopt or, they will adopt the details, or they will formulate the details, and they can pull out anything that they want.
Can I make a suggestion that perhaps, I mean, it sounds like really the vote is on pay-as-you-throw. Can we just take a vote on pay-as-you-throw, that pay-as-you-throw shall not be considered for 5 years, or will not be revisited?
I don't
Because I
think- No, I-
think that, I'm concerned, as Glenn said, that, you know, how people are gonna interpret the no change. You know, what does that mean? Does that mean no increase in the sticker fee? Does that mean we can't introduce a new program, that we can't implement, you know, an enterprise fund? I mean, what does no change mean?
I hear you.
Yeah.
And I don't think we want to paint ourselves into that corner,
Right.
because, first of all, that's not our charge. That's up to the Board of Selectmen. If a year from now, the Board of Selectmen look at the whole thing and, with the Finance Committee, the town manager, and the board, and whomever else is involved, and say, we can't go, we have no choice but to go to an enterprise fund a year from now, or 2 years from now, whatever that time may be, we can't tie their hands to it. They wouldn't tie their hands to it. It just.
I don't think that's the charge of this committee. We're making recommendations and ways to
That's all.
save money, reduce waste, reduce cost. That's what the charge is. So these recommendations are not in, you know, to tell the Board of Selectmen, so I suggest to them what they should or shouldn't do with the operation. I think that's totally in their hands.
I think we have.
Well-
We've voted for a low-income discounted.
Suggested.
But they don't.
We're just
They
suggesting.
don't need to take it. They can say,
Right.
no, we disagree with
I
that,
just-
we're
I
not
guess
gonna.
It just seems like the vote is really on pay-as-you-throw. So let's just, can't that be the motion, you know, whether or not, you know, 5-year, pay-as-you-throw is off the table for 5 years?
Mr. Chairman. I probably shouldn't be offering such a suggestion as I'm about to, but I certainly wouldn't suggest 5 years. I think it's overbroad to say no change. If it's the motion makers is in agreement with this, a simple motion to the effect of committee recommends at this time that the pay-as-you-throw not be implemented at this time. You know, the recommendation of the committee is you don't like pay-as-you-throw, we're not going to recommend it. But I wouldn't try to put a time frame on it. It just overcomplicates it. Who knows what happens year after year after year. And again, this is just a recommendation of the committee, which the selectmen will or will not adopt. But I don't think you need to spend a lot of time making it too complex a request. The goal is to, the gentleman's request is that we not proceed with any recommendations in support of pay-as-you-throw. I don't know if that gets to what you're trying to say in number 4 or not.
Right, I would say that's,
Is that what your intent was? Or is that what this board's intent is? We don't have to, we don't have to vote on Greg's suggestion as it's,
no. I mean, I like that idea. I'm just trying to help it be revisited again at another time if it needs to. But I understand what you're saying. I mean, people, when you say no change, it could be, people can get locked into all kinds of things. And, but I like how you worded it, and I would be fine with that.
So if you want to change your motion, go ahead and change your motion
And Rick, how did you?
I'm going to let this gentleman frame the motion. I'm not going to do any more help here.
The venue, recommendations for pay-as-you-throw, what was the time you?
At this time.
At this time.
Right.
That the committee would not recommend pay-as-you-throw at this time.
That's,
That's my motion.
all right, so that, just so that I'm clear, Andrew, your motion is to keep the low-income sticker recommendation and 5-bag limitation, and not to proceed with any recommendations for pay-as-you-throw at this time.
I think it's just that it's not. This has already been voted, so I think it's
Right.
just a clean, no pay as you throw it, or pay as you
Committee,
throw.
just as simple, the
It's
committee
not
would not
recommend.
recommend pay-as-you-throw at this time.
and, are you gonna second that, Wayne?
What was that?
are you gonna second that motion?
Yeah, I want no pay-as-you-throw at this time, yes.
Okay,
I second it.
okay,
Thank you, Rich.
all right. Any further
So you just
discussion?
delete the 5 years.
Right, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
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 Opposed. Yes.
Okay. The only thing that we missed and we didn't bring it forward was the, did we bring it in the past, was the suggestion of possibility of, the Board of Selectmen in the future was looking into the possibility of an enterprise fund.
Mr. Chairman, what about, number 5? That if the selectmen feel it
Dual pay.
need to do a pay-as-you-throw or a dual pay, that has to go for a binding vote before the town.
I think anything that we do with it would go, I don't think the selectmen would bring anything forward unless it was a binding vote by the town, ballot vote.
Sure about that?
Yes.
Well, did we make sure of that?
Well,
we're just suggesting.
We're just a recommend,
Right.
we're just a board that's making recommendations to the selectmen. You want to make a recommendation to the board that any actions taken, would recommend that any actions, regarding the transfer station should be, what would be, change of operation, would be by ballot vote only by the residents.
No, I think,
Suggestion, that's it. I don't think the Board of Selectmen would ever do it any other way.
but they did.
No, they tried to.
Well, that's just it. They tried to.
Right.
So I'm,
I think there's a lesson to be learned in that.
all right.
I guess, yeah, that's a bridge that's under the water now, so it's.
Okay.
All right. I withdraw that number 5 then.
Okay. Number 5. Okay, we didn't bring up the issue of the suggestion of the enterprise fund. Should we leave that, or in the future, or leave that as an option for the selectmen? I think that's up to the Board of Selectmen if the time comes and it needs to move forward if there's, but I think people realize at this point, and I think that was because a number of individuals kept looking at the money from the general fund to subsidize the cost of the sticker for all of us that have a sticker. But I think the reality of the situation is, when you see what the cost of the operation is, and so many people use it, a lot of people don't, but a lot of people do use it without stickers.
Well, I think an enterprise fund would remove the transfer station operation from the general government budget, so it would be 100% user funded, which would then make that, you know, $700,000 or $800,000 that's part of the budget right now available for some other purpose. So it's taking it out of
Well,
the,
you could reduce we could reduce my taxes
Taxpayer
if we
rebate.
take it out.
or give it to the school who's looking for that similar amount as an increase.
But
So-
I think it's their option. I don't think anybody at this time is recommending an enterprise fund. I think it's doable, but I don't think we need to recommend it, do we?
Well, maybe we should have some discussion on it. I mean, and maybe you'd like a motion first, but from my perspective, based on my own personal experience and knowledge, it seems to me that most communities with respect to their solid waste are moving towards enterprise accounts. I don't see any substantive reason why Mashpee couldn't move in that direction as well. I think from an accounting perspective, in terms of segregating your costs out, it's cleaner. Glenn, I certainly can speak to that as well. I think, from his experience in Barnstable, working in an enterprise fund as well, I think there's far more benefits than detriments. And so I certainly think it was within our purview to make a recommendation with respect to enterprise fund. Again, selectmen can move with it or not, but my own feeling is, and I'll make a motion, and we can put it on the table to discuss it. I move that we recommend that the transfer station be set up as an enterprise fund. Anybody wants to second it, they can.
Second.
So, did you give me the second? So, we can talk about it. I'm not, maybe you've got some perspective that you'd like to bring to the table on the issue.
Well, I spoke last meeting a lot about it, about the benefits. And, you know, a lot of people would come in and they would complain about a $5 propane tank or a $2 tire or whatever like that. You know, my taxpayers' dollars, and I just stop them right there and say, listen, none of this money, none of these fees, you know, no money is coming out of the tax base. We put money back into the tax fund, you know, into the general fund. You know, we're self-sufficient out here, and that's how we run it, you know? And like I was saying, not to get into a lot of stuff or whatever like that, but I know, you know, some towns like a lot of the different departments have gone enterprise account, pocket, you know, rec department, you know, beach stickers, that kind of stuff. I know Mashpee rec is already enterprise account. Sewage treatment plants definitely go enterprise account or privately run or whatever like that, that the town should have nothing to do with in the sewer business, you know? In using tax dollars or whatever like that. That's how it should be done. It should be user, you know, fee-based.
Yeah.
And right along with like Rick was saying, with the transfer station, that way there, you know, people in multifamily dwellings or whatever like that, they're probably some of the biggest complainers as seniors that they don't have any kids at school, you know, or whatever, so. There's a lot of pluses to it. I didn't see any negatives with the enterprise account. You know, the hardest thing is whoever's running it, you gotta make sure that you run it like a business.
Let me ask you this, when you went from town-based to enterprise fund, did the cost go up to the homeowners or the
Yes.
users?
Yes.
Substantially?
Yes, that's one of the reasons why they came up with the low-income sticker. It was for the impact to the seniors.
And the
Because
expectation,
the stickers went from $45 a sticker to $90.
but the expectation
Okay.
is it'd be
Double
implemented
price.
over a period of years, 3
But,
years or
you know,
whatever.
but I can, you know, I can really complicate matters, but that enterprise account, a lot of people are always accused, Bob, well, you got the highest stickers on the Cape, you got the highest, yeah, but we also paid for a $8.5 million cap that the general fund was supposed to pay for, but the enterprise paid for. All the buildings, everything out there, we do the townwide trash pickup. Main Street, all the beaches, everything else like that. The enterprise account pays for all that. We don't
So
get
the
no
citizens
we
pay
get
for
no
that?
general fund out of that, you know? And, there's a lot of good to it, you know? And,
So the burden, the only one that's paying for the trash pickup by the town is the burden of the users of the transfer station.
Well, actually, Glenn, I think, to be accurate, when the transfer station provides a service to the town, administratively, it comes back as well. At least that's the way they're doing it now. Maybe they weren't doing it then, but there's a charge to the administrative side for those costs of picking up the beaches and picking up Main Street. So there's a bit of a back and forth there.
Well,
But the
not when I was there.
Now,
There's a little bit of a role reversal here, because right now,
When I was there.
we have individuals complaining about the general funds subsidizing the sticker costs. Now it'd be a role reversal by the users, the transfer station would be subsidizing the
wouldn't want
town
that.
and the pickup of the rubbish at the recreational departments and I'm guessing the town
But,
waste as well.
that's, when you go to the enterprise account, it's completely outlined by state law. You gotta go by state law. You can't come up with some elaborate sticker price just to say, okay, well, so we're gonna go to enterprise account, we're gonna make our stickers $200 a sticker. And then the next thing you know, after 2 years, the enterprise account is sitting with a nice lucrative $100,000 in their savings account. The state looks at that as another tax. So basically, the town can charge the enterprise accounts for services rendered, finance, human resources, the town manager's office, the DPW
the
directors,
transfer station?
because they're overseeing that operation. When on my budget, a chunk of my budget paid for the DPW director and the assistant DPW director. And so much money went into finance, and it went into human resources, into legal, because, they look at contracts. I mean, any services that are rendered to the enterprise account, you can set, the town can set, a fee, an appropriate fee, or a charge for that service.
How does
Human resources, they keep,
benefit the residents?
finance cuts the checks. I mean, you know what I mean? It's human resources, there's the hiring, you do your yearly, you know what I mean? They're in charge of all that, all the insurance and all, you know what I mean, and everything else, so.
I would be for having the selectmen, recommending that the selectmen investigate the possibility of an enterprise fund down the road.
I would agree more to that than just to suggest to go enterprise. I think future keep the option open for potential use of an enterprise system for the transfer station.
I would also agree with that.
May I suggest that maybe someone make a friendly motion, or a motion to amend, because we have a current motion on the floor. So,
Yeah.
somebody wants to make an amendment?
I think that if we're all in, if I were to make a motion to amend the initial, which is to recommend to the Board of Selectmen to, in the future, to look into the possibility of a enterprise fund system for the transfer station.
I'm not in favor of that motion, as a friendly amendment. If you want to make it and see if you get the votes to amend my motion,
Yeah.
that would be fine. But I'm personally not in favor of that as a friendly amendment. So, but again, if you guys want to proceed with an amendment to the effect that you were requesting.
Yeah, I think it's friendly, and it's just, once again, it's just a suggestion to the Board of Selectmen to look at, to keep an open mind on it in the future. It's something that has been discussed here, the merits, the advantages, disadvantages. I think there's a little bit more discussion that has to be had on that. I was unaware of some of the things that you were talking about.
Yeah, I don't know enough
I
about enterprise fund.
I could actually bore you for a couple hours
I
as
bet-
far
I know.
as far as, as far as, how you can do it, how you can implement it and everything else like that, but I think that's for, I'd be more than willing to be part of a committee when the selectmen do decide to go that way or whatever like that. Okay, this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna come up with these
This is how you did
recommendations,
it in
the
the
fees,
past, right.
how it's gonna be paid for, and boom, 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 and then
Yeah.
I'd be more than willing to be part of that or
So
whatever,
I'm just making it as a suggestion rather than Rick was more or less suggest, to become an enterprise system. So just to keep an open mind on it and to possibly look forward to the use of an enterprise system in the future.
Again, Mr. Chairman, we have a motion on the floor.
Yep, and that's an amended motion. I've just,
Well,
would
okay,
like
but-
to amend that.
Okay, so you're making that amendment,
Yeah.
and you'll need a second, and we'll vote on yours.
Yes.
Okay.
Then I second that.
Okay.
All right, so you're making,
The amended motion, which is a friendlier version of what Rick was, just to make a suggestion to the Board of Selectmen to keep an open mind.
So the vote is to amend the original motion to that the board or the committee recommends that the Board of Selectmen consider implementing an enterprise fund at some future date.
Keep an open mind to the future. I'm not suggesting that they change the system right now. That's not my intent.
May I make a
He said
suggestion?
recommend to the Board of Selectmen to, in the future, look into an enterprise fund
Correct.
in the future.
Correct.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, if I can suggest, to make it a little bit cleaner, maybe we should just vote up or down on my original motion, and, which is to recommend, and then if that fails, your motion, then you can make your motion.
That's fine.
I think it would be cleaner to do that. Do you agree?
Okay,
Right.
why don't we do
Because
that? Okay.
We didn't have a second on Rick's motion.
I
Yes.
seconded that.
Yes, you did, Catherine did.
Yes.
So, all right, so based on Rick's suggestion, I think we up or down on that.
And
Rick?
just before we start voting, if I have it correctly, you said that that was effective in Barnstable,
Yes.
and you worked there.
He established it.
Over what period of time was that done?
I was working out there. I was not the person in charge when it was established, but I came in within a few years after it was, and it was, we were able to, we had to increase stickers a couple of times, and we were the only town in the state that lowered our stickers too. Because we were making really good money on recycling because of the way we did things. And save money and everything like that, but then we end up having some other costs come up or whatever like that, and then we end up having to go back up on a sticker, so. But I mean, we had that flexibility where we could do that, you know?
Yeah, no, I like the idea, it's some of the costs that are, I'm not so sure about, but,
And it's also something that we've not really, I mean, this is the most we've ever talked about an enterprise fund at any meeting. So it's not been brought up a lot. It's been brought up occasionally.
yes, it has, right, we've talked
Right, we
about
brought,
it,
but, you know, by,
just the surface.
so I'm uncomfortable with that motion as it is.
So should
Any
we- should we vote?
suggestion at
Okay,
all?
so we're gonna have a
Well,
vote?
I would,
Well, you're talking on Rick's.
yes, on Rick's.
Okay, so on Rick's motion, we'll
This is
we'll
Rick's
take a
motion.
vote? Okay. Rick?
Aye.
No.
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 Aye.
Aye,
Okay,
so 3-5.
so it fails. Okay, so,
No. 3 to 4.
no.
Wayne,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, I'm
Wayne.
sorry, I didn't.
The invisible man voted.
Jean was forgetting about you.
Oh,
I'm gonna move the phone closer to her. Okay, so, and my motion, if I can remember that specifically, I didn't write it down. And my motion to the Board of Selectmen, it would be to, keep open mind, the future use of an enterprise fund, if needed. I mean, I guess that's pretty much,
need it. Now, wait,
as an option, I don't know if
but
it's
we
needed
needed a
as.
second to your motion, I'm sorry.
Second.
Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, any discussion on that?
Would you just quickly repeat back the full motion, Jean?
Yes. Recommend to the Board of Selectmen to look into enterprise funding in the future if needed.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that means.
Well, then if it's, well.
I think we should just leave it as, in the future, not
Yeah.
as
Yeah, you
needed.
can do that in the
Just
future.
delete as
I think it just
needed.
needs a little bit,
In the
it
future.
needs more research than just jumping into it.
Yeah.
Look into it, that's all.
May I make a friendly amendment? And if you think it merits attention, you can go with it. Move that the committee recommend to the selectmen that they investigate the feasibility of establishing an enterprise fund system for the transfer station. So they're exploring the
Well,
feasibility.
that's
Sort
what
of-
he's saying.
Fine.
That's
That's
what
the
he's
same
saying.
It just didn't sound like that, because he lets them do it anytime in the future. There's no time certain. We're recommending that they investigate the feasibility of it, and then he's offering out if needed. Well, how do you decide if needed,
well-
kind of?
If needed.
He did take out his.
Right, I did. And the thing, I'm hoping that the simple changes we've made are gonna help to reduce the cost and reduce some of the solid waste in the town of Mashpee. That we've already suggested here. And that's my hope, is that we're not gonna need to change anything, that the system's gonna move along pretty smoothly. And I think that people are gonna realize overall that, it does work very well. It really does. And I don't think it hurts, the general fund that much. I think the town uses it. I think they get their good use out of the town, of the transfer station. So, that being said, we've had discussion. Can we have a vote on that, up or down, Rick?
Nay.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Wayne? Yes, Wayne said yes.
And I'm gonna abstain because I'm not quite sure what we're
Okay.
accomplishing with the vote.
Yeah,
so,
well, to keep an open mind on it, that's all it is.
yeah.
I just wanted to be recognized, that's all I was waiting.
All right. Okay, so we got through that.
I abstain.
And we have Calliope. I'm gonna have to take a minute here to see, what she was looking at and if we voted on anything. Enterprise transfer fund be an enterprise operation. We're not suggesting that now, but in the that's an option to the Board of Selectmen. Reduce solid waste low, did not agree to the cameras, that's not being here at all.
I just want to point out for operational purposes, that does not prohibit the administration from doing what is necessary for the purposes of complying with auditing recommendations at the booth, which is separate from anything that we were trying to accomplish for monitoring vehicles coming and going. If I've got an auditor saying that a person that handles cash should be on a camera, and he or she ends up on a camera, then that has nothing to do with this committee.
No, absolutely not. We're just recommending, I think that the board in your position
Yeah, I
gives
just
you
want
the
to
authority to do what
make
you
it
think is
clear in
best.
case a camera pops up there and they go, oh, this committee didn't recommend that. Well,
No, no.
if the
Be at
auditors
your door,
did,
buddy.
if the auditors did, then it may happen.
Right. No, I don't think anybody in this board has a problem. I think we're all in favor of it, but the cost was prohibitive at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
One thing on hers is number one, or part of one, is that I would make a motion is that we stick with doing more education with recycling. And definitely the personnel, the company and the personnel that are operating the transfer station have this training. I'm sure that company, they run a lot of transfer stations, and I'm sure that but that's something that we can, I don't know if you check on that, Catherine, or whatever, what kind of training that they have,
Training for what?
their people, as far as how to run the transfer station,
I guess how does that relate to our?
Education.
It was number one in
Education.
Calliope's, which was education. And he's asking that
So we're
I'm making a motion,
to amend our contract
No.
for operation to
No, no.
require the transfer station operator to provide education for users?
I'm asking a question, doesn't, that company runs a lot of transfer stations in Rhode Island and everywhere. And don't we know as a town, as there are, we hired them. In other words, they can hire somebody, no, the question I'm asking is, doesn't that company have training for their employees?
They have safety training, they have training on, obviously, what
Yeah,
the function of
recyc-
their job is.
The recycling operations?
But it's
And
not their
everything?
job to
It's not
educate.
their job to provide
So we have a
education.
recycling committee in the town of Mashpee. So why don't we make a recommendation based on Calliope's, which is not, we're all in agreement with
Well,
education.
my recommendation, okay, is that if there is an education in place, the next time that a contract is gonna be written, that be part of the contract, is that these people need to be educated in the recycling and the state regulations, and following the DART program. Because if these people are out there are supposed to be doing what we're trying to do as a committee, the selectmen and everybody here as a town body, they should be doing it for us. They're, the town, we'd hired them, okay? But,
And essentially, I think what you're looking for at the next time that there's a contract, and I would agree with it, is that there be some sort of a professional development clause, and at the appropriate time, it could be certainly visited.
because, you know, the biggest thing is the education of the people out there that are working at the transfer station. That's the only point I'm trying to make. You know, and I didn't mean to get sidetracked with, you know, the company and what we do and all that stuff and everything else. But I think what, I definitely agreed with Calliope on that, is the biggest thing is the education.
Can I ask a question, Glenn? Who are you looking for them, are you saying that the company needs to that they need to educate those men that are working there on how to what? Or are you looking for education that they're supposed to pass on to the person driving through the gate? I'm not sure what you're asking for.
Both.
Both. So I would say I mean, they must be aware of our policies and procedures regarding the transfer station. They're
Yes.
trained on that. And they must know what can be thrown away. They have some understanding of state
'Cause
law,
I
I
know
imagine.
I know the guy at the recycling, I've heard him tell people, you can't throw that in there, it's gotta go
Oh,
over
yeah,
here.
stops it.
Or, like with me, I tried to get rid of all my shredding, and I was gonna throw the bag in there, and he goes, you can't get rid of bags. So I dumped my shredding in there, and it got blown all around in the wind, but anyways, the biggest thing is the education. I definitely agree with Calliope on the education. We need to continue that as a town, and like what you've been doing, Catherine, you know, with the schools and everything else like that. Let's keep that, let's, as a recommendation, let's keep that moving forward, and if there's more we can do,
So,
then let's do it.
so if we need a motion, then if based on the education, so,
Mr. Chairman, what about, what about a motion, a recommendation, as it were, to, have the recycling committee set up a continuing, ongoing campaign regarding educational recycling for our community? Because that's their job, part of it anyway.
could you continue your education on recycling?
Well, now you're trying to direct another committee in doing their job, and I think that's really not.
Well, it's education.
Well,
It's
the
just-
Board of Health trying to direct people too, so what's the difference?
I know that the recycling committee, who met with the director and I, certainly wanted to be actively involved.
So who does
I-
education then?
I'm just trying to keep this simple, because it seems like every time somebody makes a recommendation, we gotta spend a half an hour on it. And to me, education is pretty simple. Let's continue on moving forward with the education and making sure that the people out there that are working at the transfer station are properly educated, and that we keep working with, as Catherine's been doing. You know what I mean, with information, handouts, everything that we've been doing, all I'm trying to say is, let's do education, or even more education. If we can do more education, then that should be the recommendation from this committee. That's,
But, and I was confused because you said the gentleman at the recycling, he directed you what could, and you've overheard him, what could go in, what couldn't. So he is doing his job, and he is directing
Right.
recycling and all of that. So all you're asking for
because
continued-
it's basically the first sentence on number one. Offer a lot more, offer a lot more education, including the people working at the transfer station.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none?
Aye.
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 Aye, because we're already doing it.
Right, we're doing pretty good, right. All right, so that brings us to, we're off the front page.
I get to say aye too, don't I?
You
Yes, you did.
It's the wrong number, hang up on that.
If it's above 70 degrees, no.
All right, let's see if we can, there's only a few more issues here. The cameras were already addressed. The sticker we've already addressed, the low income, the risk,
Paragraph 3, on that page 3,
Santos, page 2.
yes, I'm
Yep.
sorry. where Glenn suggested when resident applies for sticker, have them sign commitment statement agreeing to follow rules of the transfer station. If rules not followed, lose sticker privileges. Isn't there already part of our policy that if you violate the rules that you can have your sticker?
Yeah, there is, I know that,
Okay.
yes.
So we've got that already in place.
We do, right.
But the point I was making with this is that it's like anything else. First thing somebody's gonna say, well, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know that. I wasn't, okay, well, where's it written? Where is it?
Right. you want
Because
someone to sign
when
something,
somebody,
right.
when you sign this, okay, they sign it and everything, and then they're given
The handout.
a handout of the rules and regulations of the transfer station. I mean, you ought to get the handouts. I mean, so,
Education.
metal goes here, this goes here, this stuff is banned from this way, you know what I mean? We have hazardous waste days, boom, boom, boom. So nobody can come up and say, well, I didn't know. Well, you were given a handout when you were given a sticker, and,
I agree.
it's just something that,
Does that go with
made my
education?
life, it just made my life a lot easier out there enforcing when I had to enforce the rules, and it wasn't that many people, but it made my life a lot easier. Because some people came in yelling and screaming, I was not aware that you were gonna charge me $2 for this or that. You were given a copy of the rules and regulations and the fees.
Okay,
So-
can we have discussion? So I have a question, as former police chief, is ignorance of the rules a reason to not be cited for a violation?
They always said ignorance of the law is no excuse. That was a famous phrase. What I would say, though, is for the purposes of education, which we just voted in the affirmative on, that it would make sense to possibly distribute that flyer at the time that the sticker is given, because I just don't see that being a major cost factor. It's like a one-sheet piece of paper, maybe two, and we can do both sides.
We actually do, not to interrupt, but I will, we do hand out the guide, the recycling flyer, and the food waste, that all
So
went
you're doing it
as a
already?
With the
packet.
sticker,
We don't
right.
have them sign. I guess my question, just logistically, with having someone have to sign that they received it, where do we then put the signatures?
I'm not hung up on the signature as I am,
The
as
information.
long as you're assuring me that this goes
We provide it to
with
the
the
sticker
sticker.
office.
Right,
then
the use of the
I'm
transfer
comfortable.
station, right. And especially with online,
We give it to them.
with people buying stickers online, it would be very difficult, and we've been encouraging online, so signatures would be tough to get.
Because
But
if-
we all know the flyer goes into the envelope.
Because if somebody said, hey, look, I don't know what you're talking about, we can always go back and say, look, as a matter of practice and pattern, we are delivering this to you at the same time you pick up your sticker. So,
Right.
there you go.
I think we pretty much cover it, but I get your point. And with the exception of the signature, the handout does go into the envelope. And I think even when they get the sticker at the office, they hand it out as well.
Given the whole packet.
So, I don't know how we could encourage online, which is,
Oh, I do a lot of stuff online that is electronic signature when I send it in.
I still don't do it.
Electronic what?
Signature, yeah, exactly. All right, then the next was my suggestion, which was block lettering. I think that's education, signage, so I think we don't need to do anything on that, unless anybody feels differently. I think we're all in favor of signage. I don't think you have a real problem with that, the big letters. So but I think that's education and that's operation.
Yeah, and I guess I would tend to agree with you. I was thinking for a moment that perhaps it might warrant a recommendation to the effect that that we recommend the selectmen direct the DPW director to look to enhance the quality in signage. I mean,
Signage,
signage can always be improved. I mean, it's a challenge, as Catherine well knows, but we're doing in Barnstable a complete, comprehensive site plan review, along with issues regarding signage and how do you increase people's utilization of the facility and enhance customer service and increase recycling. And signage is part of that, so we're really exploring some sort of different, new, creative ways of organizing our signage, right down to the font and the graphics and all of that, to figure out a way to get that initial eye contact from the resident that's meaningful, because as we all know, most of the time, their eyes just glaze over, they see the signs and they don't matter.
You weren't at the meeting with Tom Mullen, who said he wanted 5x5, bright orange with fluorescent white letters.
Well, that's where I was going with that, the big block letters.
6-inch letters.
You know, that was the intent of my
And
statement.
people still
was to
said they
put
didn't
big
know what they
block
were
letters
going.
up there and say, bottles, cans, you know, this is where they go.
And I also like recycling is the
Recycling's
law.
over there?
Lake band, right, Catherine?
And not to get technical on you, but what I would advocate is the board directing the town manager, who then would direct the director.
This board or the Board of Selectmen?
The Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen. Well, we can certainly make the suggestion, if you want to move forward with the suggestion to the Board of Selectmen, I could make a motion that we make a suggestion to the Board of Selectmen that we put better signage at the transfer station. Leave it at that, because I think the signage you enter is invisible. I don't care what anyone says. It's a 5x5 with a lot of letters on it, and it's, to me, I can't even tell you what's on it. I know the operation, but when you see big block letters, you know what it means. You don't have to stop and read it, it's there.
That letter, if you get that on the state grant, that's because we used to get those same size signs, state grant, because all that information is required by the TEP law, by the state, to have at the
Operation.
entrance and also at the site of where the trash is being disposed of. That's the regulation.
Oh, so it's there because.
One of those signs, and they state the size of the sign and
Right.
the signage. I mean, you can make it bigger if you want, but I mean, now, that's pretty
I'm not
much,
looking to change that. I'm
That's-
looking to
that's
tell
pretty
them where to
much-
put the bottles, the cans, the paper, the cardboard.
because
and,
for years, DEP
composting.
had grants where you get the free signage, and that was the best thing, so.
So that's my motion that I would make, would be that we
But the
suggest to the Board
other,
of Selectmen that they increase the size of the letter, signage, the size of the signage at the transfer station,
Second.
as needed. Any discussion on that?
Rick, you seconded it?
I did.
Rick,
Aye.
Glenn?
I,
Aye.
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 Okay, okay, there's your, Wayne,
Yeah, okay.
you want to leave you out?
Thank you.
All right, and Calliope's statement had to do with the block lettering. Tom Murphy, great point. Education, marketing, suggestion of a marketing. I don't know, should we just go with what we have, or do we,
well, I think we covered that with the education, is
Well, I think
keep
we did
moving
too,
forward with
yeah.
what we're doing, and
I think they can figure out what they want to do for better signage, make it more visible, whatever kind of education program they want to get into. These were just,
yep,
you know, what she meant, what I meant.
so I think that's it.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
one more possible motion that I'd like to explore. I know, Wayne, you still there?
I am.
At one time, Wayne was advocating for consideration of a sort of a dual system, where we maintain the status quo, but provided an optional pay-as-you-throw program for residents. In light of the fact that we've already, or the committee has voted to oppose pay-as-you-throw at this time, I would like the opportunity to make the motion that we recommend to the selectmen that they explore the option of creating a dual program with an optional pay-as-you-throw component maintained along with the status quo. Am I going to get a second from you, Wayne?
I'll give you a second.
All right.
All right, any discussion, further discussion on the dual
Did-
system?
Did he second?
He did.
He did.
Yes.
Just very quickly, again, as we,
I can explain a little bit more to that, though.
go ahead, Wayne.
The reason why I did that was when the committee was
And just very quickly, my comments would be that obviously an optional voluntary page-throw program would not provide us with the same kind of waste reduction efforts because as we have described, a lot of folks would be self-selecting. Good recyclers would pursue the page-to-throw program. Seniors in small households would obviously pursue the program, but people who don't want to recycle at all would not. And so they would continue to maintain the status quo. The key, of course, would be how the selectmen and the town manager chose to design, and the DPW director chose to design such a system, and what the associated costs and fees would be for each group. But in principle, from, again, my limited perspective, I think it would at least allow us to explore pay-as-you-throw, almost as a pilot program for people who wanted to participate. You can always stop it if it's not working and is more trouble than it's worth or is costing huge amounts of money. But I think it gives us at least an opportunity to explore the issue, provide some equity to people like me and others in the community that are recycling, and so they could pay a little bit less based on how much they're producing rather than the same amount for all of, for stuff, paying costs that they aren't creating trash for, in other words. So anyway, that's the motion. Wayne was good enough to second it, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And just for clarification, are you looking to waive the fee for those that participate in that aspect?
No, you would have a similar fee schedule. There would be a user fee for both the pay-as-you-throw customers and the non-pay-as-you-throw customers. For the non-pay-as-you-throw customers that have unlimited amount of trash disposal opportunity, they'd pay a much higher fee than the person who was participating as a pay-as-you-throw user. And their user fee would be set in such a way to provide them with the benefit of recycling more. And of course, there'd be a per bag fee. You'd create some kind of, with Waste Zero or however you'd want to design it, there'd be a per bag fee. So user fee and a per bag fee, just like every typical pay-as-you-throw program is set up. But the challenge will be in making the overall budget for the whole program for the non-pay-as-you-throw folks and the pay-as-you-throw folks, and then determining what's fair. What's a fair price for both programs? We had two models that we looked at, Rockport and Winchester.
Set it up.
And, you know, they have these programs. They're not particularly effective, again, in terms of reducing huge amounts of trash. There's a little bit of reduction, but not much. It's mainly in the equity side.
I would like to add to that.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Before you vote on that, I would caution everybody that Catherine has even brought up that the cost to do what I suggested would be very high.
That's what I was just told.
Not only the cost of it being very high for the changes in the transfer station, but the cost for the bags that would have to be purchased, distributed, and funds collected. So, you know, even though I did suggest it, and yes, I did second it, but I really want you to think about that, because that could cost the town a lot of money to implement that program.
My initial reaction was to support it. However, I just checked with the director in terms of the logistics, and the logistics are gonna be difficult. Can you explain?
Because because each system needs to pay for itself, you really need to set up a separate distinctive area for the pay-as-you-throw permittees to utilize. So you're talking about setting up a separate area for their trash, a separate area for their recycling, and that's capital. That's, you know, capital costs. It's additional hauling costs because now you have, you know, multiple trailers that you're gonna have to haul and track separately. So I just think logistically it would be a huge expense.
I did something similar, I think I've explained it to the committee before, is when I implemented, for 2 years, just a pilot program as pay-as-you-throw. And everybody used the same compactors, the same recycling, everything else like that. The biggest thing was the enforcement of it, is that, you know, in the town of Barnstable, we had an attendant that was walking back and forth in the containers in the compactors where the trash goes. And a number of times, he caught the people not following the rules and regulations on it or whatever. And the biggest thing is the enforcement and the staff that's gonna be required. You're gonna need somebody on both sides of the building to kind of keep an eye on, okay, you're a pay-as-you-throw. I gotta make sure you got the bags, and you're gonna have a different color sticker. What's the color of the sticker gonna be? Okay, it's gonna be blue for pay-as-you-throw, and it's gonna be green for people that have the regular sticker. And it was a nightmare, and we only had 200 people out of over 9,000 users in the transfer station. You know, and it was,
You'd probably need cameras.
it was
to watch
real, and like Catherine said, I mean, the only way you could actually do it is when you come in the gate, you come in a separate gate, and you use a completely separate facility. That's the only way you.
Well, I'll let Wayne speak, but what I can recall is from his operational, what his proposal was that they use, the only thing that would be different would be colored bags, and they would use the same dumpster. I mean, that's the bottom line. The only thing that would be difficult to do would be how do you weigh, when it comes to the next year operational cost, you have to take that tonnage, and I don't know how you could reduce it, the pay-as-you-throw individuals, because we base the sticker cost on the tonnage.
If you're not having them tip in separate areas, then the pay-as-you-throw folks aren't getting the benefit of the waste reduction. If everything's going into one trailer, and the one trailers, how do you, as you just said,
Right, you
Tom,
can't how do you
say-
base a sticker
Right.
cost? It would be too difficult. The only way you could do that, if you were gonna do that, would be you would have to have the tonnage weighed separately. We don't have scales. You know, you could wait until the pay-as-you-throw dumpster, if it was on the backside of the recycling area or somewhere in that area logistically, I'm not so sure. But if it was separate, and then they hauled that when it was full, I mean, it may take 3 weeks. I mean, if it's pay-as-you-throw, I don't know. There may be obstacles along the way, and I don't know that we're prepared for that at this time.
And therefore, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to withdraw my second.
You're not even gonna let me get a vote, Wayne?
The thing is, that I really, after thinking about this, thoroughly and listening to what's been going on tonight, I really feel that, I thought it was a good idea, and I thought that we were really doing our job by implementing something like this, but I think that the cost would be too phenomenal at this time, to go through it. I really think that the things that we have done with this committee, I think we've done an awesome, good job, and I think that what we're recommending to the selectmen is going to be a big help to them.
I hope you're right, and, okay, so we have withdrawal. Rick, do you want to try to find a second somewhere else?
That's okay. I withdraw my motion.
Well, from what I see, I think we've covered all aspects. I think, Catherine, you were the last one. We had the television, I think you're working on that anyway. And the 5-year, the opportunity voluntary, but we already we went with the 5 years, so I think we're pretty much covered anything unless you feel differently on yours
No, I
last.
think you eliminated the 5-year.
Okay.
That was in Greg's
Okay.
original, so I think the selectmen at any time can.
Jean, are you satisfied? Do you need any clarification on anything that you can think of?
Well, I'm glad that you said that, because since this is the last meeting,
Yes.
when I send out the draft minutes, I will ask each of you to please pay careful attention and let me know of the edits, all right? Because this has been a little bit more difficult in the way it's been.
Okay, individual, right, on your individuals, okay. I think that's fair and reasonable. Anybody have anything further that they want to add?
I just want to,
Well, one of the things, excuse me, going along with what we said in the beginning, is that when we respond to Gene, we respond directly to Gene only, so
Correct.
it's not
No conversation,
construed
no
as the
discussion.
committee, and
No.
now we're violating the public
Right.
meeting, so.
Yes,
Exactly.
just quote on your own your own quotes,
Exactly.
your own discussion.
And I,
Because this way it will mean that you're saying, oh, no, I didn't say this, you know.
Right.
Then, then
Then
once,
I can get it, and then I'll send out the draft.
So the sooner the better, so we all remember it. All right, we're in agreement?
and all I want to do is just hand out a quick little graphic here that I had prepared that shows what the savings might have been if we had gone to pay-as-you-throw.
I was hoping it was gonna be a Christmas card, so,
Well, for the record, as
and
we
with that,
reflect on this moving forward.
and with that, if there's nothing else, Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
be,
Couldn't say that fast.
before I adjourn, this is our last meeting, and this committee's been through quite a journey. As you know, there's been a lot of changes in the committee. The original structure is far from where it was initially. I honestly, I want to thank everybody who's hung in there. It's been a long, tough journey. And I have to say that even though we've agreed and disagreed along the way, I think the benefit of having this committee, we bring some suggestions to the Board of Selectmen that will hopefully reduce solid waste and the cost and increase recycling. That was the charge of the committee. I think we've done a great job just hanging in there and being individuals and coming up with different ideas that have all worked to the benefit of the town of Mashpee and the residents, and I want to thank you for that.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I could just, I know I just made the motion to adjourn, but if I could ask if we could, I don't know if everybody else wants to know, but if we could be, like, notified when it's gonna be going in front of the selectmen?
Yes, I can do that.
So I could just be in the back in the audience or whatever, and, or whatever,
Yeah.
or watch it on TV or whatever,
I'll
so.
contact Jean and she can forward it through the,
Okay?
Are
okay?
you gonna want this on the 21st, or?
No.
No?
No, I don't think we need to bring it that quickly. It's just before the holiday. I think there's gonna be some discussion on this. I think we can do it after the holiday. I think it makes sense. Okay. All right?
Mr. Chairman, just want to say thank you and to everybody. I know it's not been easy sometimes, but thank you, and I've enjoyed getting to know all of you and enjoyed serving the town. Thank you.
Yes, Wayne?
I'd like to thank everybody for working with them. I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I will be home for Christmas, so I hope to see you if I can, and I hope everybody well.
Yeah, thank you, Wayne. And it sounds like your song you were gonna start there, I'll be home for Christmas, so.
And just to let you know, Wayne, it was in the 50s up here today, so.
And 60.
I understand it's been beautiful up there. I'm bringing more good weather to you.
I like that. All right, I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.